The Ohio State women's basketball team lost to rival Michigan Tuesday night, 84-75. The Buckeyes led the Wolverines by 5 points headed into halftime, but struggled to maintain the lead in the second half after Michigan went on a 13-4 run in the third quarter. The Wolverines would keep the pace going by outscoring the Buckeyes in the fourth quarter with a 22-17 run. Michigan center Hallie Thome, who led Michigan with 27 points, and senior guard Caitlin Flaherty, who had 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists, would help secure the win over the number 8 ranked Ohio State. Ohio State senior guard Kelsey Mitchell had 20 points, shooting 5 for 14 from the field. Senior forward Stephanie Mavunga helped the Buckeyes in their early lead by adding 15 points in the first half. In the second half, she was held to only 6 points before fouling out with 1:52 left in the game. The Buckeyes shot just 25.6% from the field in the second half and were 6 for 30 from the three-point range in their first Big Ten loss this season.
I don't think we had the focus that we needed tonight to win. Just way too many mental errors against a good Michigan team. I thought they played well. And when we would make mistakes, they'd make us pay. And so, but you look at, they shot 53% and out-rebounded us by 13. We shot 36%. You're not going to win a game.
To be honest, we were real lackadaisical, especially to start out the third quarter. And so that's on us. We shot 36% as they shot 53%. It's really difficult to beat a team when you're shooting such a low percentage and they're at such a great percentage. And so, that has to do with shot selection. That has to do with forcing up shots that, maybe aren't the best ones, making the extra pass or just trying to do too much sometimes.
The Ohio State men's basketball team has been on a tear as of late, toppling then #1 Big Ten rival Michigan State just over a week ago. Now they're in the middle of a 3-game road stretch tonight against Northwestern after taking down Rutgers on Sunday. I'm here with the Lantern's men's basketball reporter, Edward Sutland. Edward, how important is this stretch against lesser Big Ten opponents for the Buckeyes?
Yeah, I think that it's a lot bigger of a stretch than a lot of people think. Ohio State, what really was bad for Ohio State last year was that they lost to teams they shouldn't have lost to. They lost to Florida Atlantic, they lost to Illinois. This season they haven't done that. Every team that they're supposed to beat, they've beaten. They took care of business against Rutgers. They beat all the non-conference opponents at the beginning of the season. Good teams, when they're looking to get into the NCAA tournament, they can afford to lose to the Michigan States and to the North Carolinas. It's the losses to teams that they need to beat that are really going to come back to hurt them at the end of the year. So I think that right now, while they're going to be heavily favored to win most of these games, they're fairly important for Ohio State to win. And I think that tonight against Northwestern, they have a chance to be upset. Mm-hmm. But if they play the way they should be able to take care of business against Northwestern.
Yeah, no, this was a team who maybe last year, this game against Northwestern, you weren't sure what the outcome was going to be. But now coming into this heavily favored game, like you're saying, these are the games that they need to win to make sure that those NCAA tournament hopes are still alive. Speaking of that, now that Ohio State has cracked the top 25, is it too early for them to start thinking about this Ohio State men's basketball team in the NCAA tournament?
So I don't think that it's necessarily too early. At this point, they're right now pretty heavily favored to make the tournament. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of bracket websites out there that are saying that Ohio State is going to be a number 6 seed. There's some that say a number 8 seed. There's some that even say as high as a number 4 seed. Ohio State is number 22 in the AP Top 25. They are one of the best teams in the country right now. Now, with that said, one of the problems for last year's team was that they just combusted down the stretch. Last year's team also beat Michigan State. Now, Michigan State wasn't the number 1 team in the nation last year, and it was right when Ohio State beat them. But this year's team needs to just finish strong. Yeah, if it takes care of the teams that it should, it'll be in the NCAA tournament. Even if it gets knocked out in the first round of the Big Ten tournament, which at this point I'd be a little bit surprised if it did. This is a better team than it was last year. I think that if it takes care of business, it'll be in the tournament.
Okay, now redshirt junior forward Keita Bates-Diop has been leading the surge for the Buckeyes, and head coach Chris Holtmann said that his current pace would be hard for them to keep.
It's probably unrealistic to expect this type of offensive efficiency to continue for him, even as great of a player as he is. I think that just like we're going to get he's going to get everybody's best shot, right? Given what he's done up to this point.
Now, Ed, if KBD's production does start to dip, where is that source of production in addition for the Buckeyes?
So I think that it's actually at the beginning of the season. There's no way I would have given you this answer. But at this point in the year, I actually think that it might be C.J. Jackson. C.J. has been, he started off the year a little bit inconsistent. He would put up some point totals, but he would turn the ball over a lot. He made a lot of passes that were, you could tell he was trying to do something flashy, and it just didn't pan out for him. And he was benched for a couple of games. But since he's come back into the starting lineup, he's been one of their more consistent players. He'll usually go somewhere between 13 points a game, and sometimes he'll even go as high as 20. When he needs to, he can start making shots from beyond the arc, and he's probably one of their better shooters at this point. I think that you can look at Jayshawn Tate as another guy who would probably need to step up and produce for Ohio State. He's been a little bit more inconsistent. He was their best player last year. He hasn't quite been that guy this year, but I think that part of that's just because they haven't had to rely on him as much. He's been more of someone to facilitate the offense through passing rather than being counted on to be their scorer. And then I think the last guy, if Keita slows down, the last guy who I would expect to see really step up is Caleb Wesson.
Yeah.
He's been making drastic improvements throughout this season. Earlier in the year, it seemed like a guarantee. He was going to get 10 points, he was going to get 10 rebounds, and he was going to foul out. Now, he might not put up the same point totals, but he's not fouling out. He's going to stay in the game. And I think that if Ohio State needs to rely on him, like they sort of did against Rutgers, at the beginning of the game, Keita got off to a slow start. I think he was 0 for his first 5. They started to hand the ball over to Caleb Wesson a little bit more, and Caleb was producing for them. He is a big dude. He's going to pull down a lot of offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds. And so even when guys like Keita are missing from beyond the arc or from mid-range, as long as you have that big guy like Keita down in the post to be able to scoop up the rebounds and put it back in, they'll be able to find some production from him.
Yeah, and someone they also have to look forward to off the bench is Joey Lane. I mean, no one brings more energy than him waving that towel. But that's all we got for you for the men's basketball today. Be sure to check back throughout the week for more coverage of the Ohio State men's basketball team. Now let's go back to Alicia for some more information on Ohio State football.
Things are looking good for the Ohio State football team as 6 of their top wide receivers, known as Zone 6, will be returning for another season. This includes junior Paris Campbell, Johnny Dixon, and Terry McLaurin. Other players who have announced their return are sophomore running back Mike Weber and defensive lineman Draymond Jones. Despite losing quarterback JT Barrett, the Buckeyes will have a lot of talent returning for the offense. That's all we have for you this week on Lantern Sports Now. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat. Thanks for tuning in and see you next week.